Hey BookTube, it's Sarah and welcome back to my channel, The Book Bag. Today, with Valentine's Day coming up in just a couple weeks, I'm going to talk to you about 6 different arcs that I read recently. They're all either romance or have like romance throughout them, and I thought I would kind of do like a Battle of the Arcs style video like I did in fall. I'll link that here, whatever side that's on, and we'll talk about them from my least favorite all the way up to my most favorite. First up for my arcs, the one that I enjoyed the least, sadly, was 4 Aunties and a Wedding by Jessie Q. Sutanto. So this book comes out March 29th. So this is the sequel for Dial A for Aunties that came out last year, which is not exactly a romance. It's kind of like a rom-com slash mystery, sort of get away with murder thing. I don't know, it's a little genre define, but in Dial A for Aunties, our main character, Meddy, has to hide a dead body while she is working as a photographer for her aunties who run the wedding, like, event planning company, are helping her do this, and it's just full of hijinks, and it's really funny. So in this one, the wedding is Meddy's. She's marrying her college sweetheart, and they have hired a separate family to do the wedding planning because obviously she wants her aunts and stuff to be part of her wedding and not working. However, the family that they have hired turns out to be the mafia, so she's spending her entire wedding day running around trying to, you know, not get killed, deal with the mafia people, and also, you know, get married. I was really looking forward to this one because I enjoyed Dial A for Aunties. I thought it was really funny, and there was like a little bit of cute romance, but it wasn't super romantic. It was definitely more focused on like the family relationships, and this is the same, but I think that was detrimental with this setting. Because the setting is Meddy's wedding, it feels really weird that she doesn't spend more time with her groom and that there's not more like romantic bits between them. I kind of wish there had been a few more sections where she got to get time with her new husband and wasn't just like, oh my god, we're all gonna die! Which is fair if you think the mafia is running your wedding, but it was just, you know, I felt like took you out of the story a little bit. It made it seem just a little too ridiculous for me. I think I still gave this 3 stars on Goodreads because it was quite funny and the aunts are always up to their hilarious shenanigans. So that was fun. I just kind of wanted like a little bit more romance and a little less suspension of disbelief, I think. So overall, it was like a 3-star read. I would take this out of the library probably. It was a fun sequel, but I don't think I would necessarily purchase it. So the next book I have is Daughter of the Moon Goddess by Lynn. So this book is already out. It came out January 11th, and it's actually in adult fantasy, but it has like a pretty strong thread of romance through the whole thing. When it was being marketed and stuff, they're like, it's an epic fantasy, plus it's got lots of romance. So that's why I was excited about it, because I love a little romance in my fantasies. I'm a softie. But this is a retelling of the moon goddess myth from Chinese folklore, and it's definitely like an epic fantasy. The main character in here does so much. She's just going all over the place. She's trying to break her mother's curse, and her mother is, like I said, the moon goddess, and she's trying to let her escape from the moon. She's been exiled there, and so she's trying to secure her mother's freedom. I personally don't think epic fantasies are for me. I tend to like things that are a little more in the details, a little nitty-grittier, kind of. So I didn't enjoy this one as much as I wanted to, but it did have a pretty good romance with kind of like an enemies to lovers, forbidden romance sort of thing. She falls for the son of the emperor who had actually imprisoned her mother, so there's the forbidden love style, Romeo and Juliet kind of thing going on. He's engaged to another. So there was that throughout it. There was a little bit of a love triangle as well, which isn't my favorite trope, but was done fairly well in this. So I think if you like adult fantasies, especially epic fantasies, you would like this a lot. It was a really interesting retelling. I personally would probably just get it out of the library and not buy it for my shelf, even though it is beautiful, and I'm glad I have like a physical arc that I can put on my shelf because it's gorgeous. But yeah, I gave this one, I think, also 3 stars on Goodreads. So next up is Delilah Green Doesn't Care by Ashley Herring Blake. So this is an adult sapphic romance, and it releases February 22nd. But this is a story of Delilah Green, who is estranged from her step family, coming back to her small town to be the photographer for her stepsister's wedding. This is a dual perspective story which follows Delilah and then her love interest Claire, who is her stepsister's childhood best friend and kind of like Delilah's childhood crush. And they start to fall for each other during the preparations before the wedding. The romance in this was really sweet. There was also some talk of kind of family relationships and fraught childhoods and kind of dealing with family/childhood trauma as an adult. And it was really interesting to see the stepsister who's getting married from the point of view of the childhood best friend as well as the kind of enemy stepsister. And Delilah is kind of almost the antagonist of the story. She shows up and she's like, I'm gonna photograph this wedding because I need the money, but I'm also gonna make everyone else just as miserable as I am during this because I don't want to be here. So it was kind of fun rooting for her, even though she was sometimes a little mean to people. But overall, there was some great character development. The relationship was very sweet. Claire was a single mother with I'll say she's 12-year-old kid. I don't know, a tween. And that was unexpected, but surprisingly sweet. It was really cute. I think I gave it 4 stars on Goodreads, and I would definitely consider buying it. I already have way too many books, so I might not buy it, but it's definitely one that I would consider buying. All right, so next up, we're past the middle of the pack. And next up is She Gets the Girl by Rachael Lippincott and Alyson Derrick. This is a YA book, unlike most of these other books, which have actually been adult romances. Who am I? What is my brand becoming? So this comes out on April 5th. Anyways, this is written by 2 wives. I think that's so cute. They wrote a book together. It's adorable, but this is a sapphic kind of coming-of-age romance story that follows Molly and Alex as they go off to university. So Alex has just been broken up with, sort of, by her girlfriend who thinks she's too much of a flirt and can't commit to anything, and she's determined to prove her wrong. So she ends up helping Molly, who has had a crush on this girl from high school forever, and is too shy and socially anxious to do anything about it. So Alex is going to help her get the girl. And as they start working together, they become friends and then maybe start to feel the feels a little bit. So I thought this was super cute. It had a really good kind of slow burn. It was a build from rivals/annoyances to friends and best friends all the way up to realizing they have feelings for each other. There was some really cute, kind of She's the Man, where she's coaching her on how to get people's numbers, and there's something else I'm picturing where they're in a food court and he makes her go get people's numbers. I don't know. I can't remember what I'm thinking of, but you've seen movies like this, I'm sure. But yeah, it's got the fun kind of trope of Alex coaching Molly through this, making her get people's numbers, trying out flirting techniques, going on fake dates and stuff. And also has some really good discussion around alcoholism because Alex's mother is an alcoholic. So her having to deal with her mother and kind of being the parent in that relationship. Molly having to deal with kind of the opposite issue of her mother is her best friend all through high school. So trying to become independent and make friends her own age, as well as her social anxiety. So it had some pretty heavy topics as well. So be on the watch for those if those might be triggering for you. But it was overall really cute. Had some great character growth and development. And yeah, I had a good time. This was very lovely. And I gave this one, again, 4 stars. But my only maybe small complaint would be that I kind of wanted to see more of Alex and Molly together as a couple, because that is spoilers, that's very late in the game. But yeah, I would Probably also get this out of the library, but I would think really hard about buying it. Like if I didn't have the nice physical arc with the beautiful cover, I would consider buying it. So the number 2 book on this list, the runner-up, is Weather Girl by Rachael Lynn Solomon. So this book was released on January 11th, and I ended up going out and buying a physical copy of it because I had an arc from NetGalley, and I loved it so much that I had to have my own copy. And I'm really glad because it's like so cute. It's got all these like cute little weather details on it, and like at the beginning of the chapters they have little like forecasts and like the little graphics to go along with it, which is also adorable. But basically, this is another adult romance. So this follows Ari Abrams, who is a meteorologist at the local TV news station, and her co-worker Russell, who is the sports reporter, as they try and work together to get their bosses, who are like divorced from each other, back together because they're fighting and creating like a hostile work environment. So this has kind of got like Parent Trap vibes, or Set It Up if you've seen that on Netflix. It's a similar idea. So as Ari and Russell are setting their bosses up, they are spending more time together and starting to fall for each other, and it was a really sweet romance. They're both Jewish characters. Rachael Lynn Solomon always writes really good Jewish representation in her books. This book also has really good representation of depression because Ari struggles with her depression. She's kind of had it under control for 10 years or so now, but it still obviously is depression and like pops up again. And I thought that was a really neat representation that you don't often see someone who is like dealing with it over the course of their life. A lot of times it's someone who is like just for the first time getting diagnosed, gets help and is like, it's kind of better now, but you don't really see the long-term, coping with and living with depression. So I thought that was really good. Rachael Lynn Solomon did say that it's based on her own mental health struggles, so that was kind of interesting to see as well. And Russell, the love interest, is fat and a single father, so that was also some good representation, because a lot of the times I find that romance books, like straight romance books, will have the man be like super chiseled and look at his like 10-pack. Oh my god, he goes to the gym all the time. And like, no one looks like that. So it was nice to have a fat love interest where it wasn't like, he was still described as being like handsome and sexy and stuff, but it wasn't like, oh my god, look at his abs and his pecs. He's so chiseled. He's like stone. Because who wants to cuddle a pile of rocks? No one. So I think I gave this 4 stars on Goodreads, probably like more like 4.5. It was really good. Oh, and obviously I went out and bought a copy, and I bought a copy for a friend as well as a gift. So it's great. You should go buy this book. It's really sweet. So now we've reached the end. This is my number 1 romance arc that I have read in the last little bit. And it's probably to no one's surprise, but that is Book Lovers by Emily Henry. I have absolutely adored every single book that Emily Henry has written, all of her adult romances. There's only 2 out right now, but still, she has become like an auto-buy author for me. So as soon as she announced that she was writing another romance that was set in the book publishing industry, I immediately pre-ordered it. And I actually managed to get an e-arc from NetGalley, so I got to read it super in advance because this book doesn't come out until May 3rd, which is so far away. But it's okay. We're hanging in there. So Book Lovers follows Nora, who is kind of like a uptight, very tightly wound book agent, and Charlie, who is a book editor, who is also kind of a little tightly wound and like very particular in his work. They've had a business disagreement in the past and are kind of not quite enemies, but not super friendly when they run into each other in this small town, which is the setting for one of Nora's clients' books. And Nora is there with her sister, and her sister's like, oh my god, it's like the perfect Hallmark small town. We have to do like the Hallmark list of small town things. But she has this like list of like, oh, we need to like save a small business and like befriend the locals and all this sort of stuff that she's trying to get Nora to do with her. And meanwhile, Nora keeps running into Charlie, and as they spend more time together, they start to fall for each other. Obviously, it's a romance. But this was a really sweet. Emily Henry does a great job of writing romances that have deeper layers and more like complex things happening in them. So this one had really good family relationships, like Nora's relationship with her sister was really sweet, and it was just a real like heartwarming kind of book. Yeah, so I thought the characters had great chemistry, there's really great like family relationships, and it was overall just very sweet. I gave this one 5 stars because Emily Henry is my god, and I think you should buy it as well. I've pre-ordered it and am just patiently waiting for May 3rd to arrive so I can have the physical copy in my hands to reread. So a lot of these books are actually ones that were in my most anticipated books of 2022 video, which I will link somewhere. I can never figure out which side it's on, but up top somewhere. So I was really excited to be able to get advanced readers copies for a lot of these. So let me know if you're looking forward to any of these books, if they sound like they're up your alley. I'd love to chat about them more down in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, next week I'm going to be doing my like all-time favorite romance books in preparation for Valentine's Day. So don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss that video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Because the setting is Meddy's wedding, that rhymes. Russell, not Russell, I don't know where I'm going with that sentence. Hold on.